Hey, this is part 3 of Letters to Milena by Franz Kafka. As always, I will read 3 letters and at the very end I will share some of my thoughts. Also, I want to apologize in case I make any mistakes. With that being said, Miran, May 1920. Dear from Milena, just a few words. I'll probably write you again tomorrow. Today I'm writing just for my own sake. Just to have done something for myself. Just to dispel a little the impression your letter made on me. Otherwise, it will weigh on me day and night. You really are unusual from Milena. Living there in Vienna, where you had to put up with this and that, and still finding time in between to wonder that other people, for instance, myself, aren't doing especially well. And that one night I slept a little worse than the night before. In this matter, my 3 girlfriends here, 3 sisters, the oldest 5 years old, have a healthier outlook. They want to throw me into the water at every opportunity. Whether we're by the river or not, and not because I did something mean to them, far from it. When grown-ups threaten children that way, then of course it's all in play and love and means something like, now let's go ahead and say the most impossible thing just for fun. But children take everything seriously and do not recognize impossibility. They can fail 10 times in an attempt to knock something over and still convinced that the next try will succeed. They don't even realize that their earlier attempts were unsuccessful. Children become uncanny whenever their words and intention are furnished with the wisdom of an adult. When such a small 4-year-old girl, still a little baby bellied, at the same time strong as a bear, who doesn't seem to be there for any other purpose than to be kissed and hugged, attacks, and her 2 sisters join in on the right and on the left, and any retreat back is cut off by the railing. And when the friendly father and the soft, pretty fat mother, standing by the stroller of her 4th, just smile from afar without wanting to help, then it's practically all over, and it's virtually impossible to describe how one manages to escape after all. Without any apparent reason, these sensible or intuitive children wanted to knock me over, maybe because they considered me superfluous, even though they knew less about me than your letters and my replies. You don't have to be scared by the well-meant of my last letter. It was a time of complete insomnia, by no means the only such time here. I had written down the story. This story I have often thought through it in connection with you. But once I finished, I no longer knew why I had told it. With all the tension spanning my temples left and right, beside most of what I wanted to tell you, as I sat outside on the balcony, had not yet crystallized in my mind. and so all I could do was refer to my basics feeling. Even now, there isn't much else I can do. You have everything of mine which has appeared except the last book, Country Doctor, a collection of short stories which Wolf will send to you. At least I wrote him about that a week ago. Nothing is being printed at the moment, nor do I have any idea when might appear later. Whatever you want to do with the books and translation will be fine. It's a pity they aren't worth more to me, so that in leaving them in your hands, I could really express my trust in you. On the other hand, I am happy to be able to make a small offering with a few notes you requested on The Stalker. This will serve as a foretaste to that torment of hell which consists of having to review one's entire life with the knowledge that comes of hindsight, where the worst thing is not a confrontation with obvious misdeed, but with deeds one once considered worthy. Despite all this, writing really is a good thing. I am now calmer than I was 2 hours outside on the balcony with your letter. While I was laying there, a beetle had fallen on its back, one step away, and was desperately trying to right itself. I would have gladly helped it. I would have gladly helped. It was so easy, so obvious. All that was required was a step and a small shove. But I forgot about it because of your letter. I was just as incapable of getting up. Only a lizard again made me aware of the life around me. Its path led over the beetle, which was already so completely still that I said to myself, this was not an accident, but death throes. The rarely witnessed drama of an animal's natural death. But when the lizard slid off the beetle was righted, although it did lie there a little longer as if it was dead, but then ran up the wall of the house as if nothing had happened. Somehow, this probably gave me, too, a little courage. I got up, drank some milk, and wrote to you. Franz Kafka. That was the end of the first letter. And before going into the second one, let's go back a little bit. He had 3 girlfriends. Let me say that one more time. 3 girlfriends. When I read that, I thought he meant like partner at the same time, like 3 different partners at the same time. But after reading it, he's talking about the children of the hospital. He's not talking about girlfriends as in they were in a relationship, but girl friends, like girls that are your friends. This man, I swear. Anyways, let's get into the second letter of Franz Kafka. Milan, May 1920. Dear Frau Milena, Yes, this is. Yes, this heading is becoming burdensome, although it is something to cling to in this uncertain world, like a crutch for sick people, but it's no sign of recovery when the crutches grow to be a burden. I have never lived among Germans. German is my mother's tongue, and as such more natural to me, but I consider Czech much more affectionate, which is why your letter removes several uncertainties. I see you more clearly. The movement of your body, your hands, so quick, so resolute. It's almost like a meeting, even so. When I then want to raise my eyes to your face in the middle of the letter, what a story. Fire breaks out and I see nothing but fire. What? Oh, sorry. I was rereading it because at first I was kind of confused about what was going on. But, anyways, it might tempt one into believing in that law you have laid down for your life. Naturally, you don't want to be pitied for these rules to which you presumably adhere, for laying down the law is nothing but pure arrogance and conceit. I am the one who plays. However, in the cases where you have put this law to the test required no further discussion, one can only kiss your head in silence. As far as I'm concerned, I do believe in your law, but I can't believe that it could loom over your life so exclusively, forever and blandly cruel. It is of course an insight, but only an insight along the way, and the way is endless. But uninfluenced by that, it is frightening for the mundanely limited mind of a human to see you in the overheated oven in which you live. For the moment, I only want to speak about myself. If we treat the whole thing as a school assignment, you have three possible ways of dealing with me. For instance, you could have refrained from saying anything at all about yourself, but then you will have deprived me of the good fortune of knowing you, and the even greater fortune of being able to put myself to the test. And so, you really weren't allowed to keep yourself locked away from me. Then you might have kept certain things from me or glossed them over, and you could still do so. But in my current state, I would sense this even if I didn't say so, and it would hurt me twice as much, so you aren't allowed to do that either. There remains only the third choice, to look out for yourself a bit. As a matter of fact, your letters show that this is a slight possibility. There's often talk about stability and calm, but I frequently read about other things as well, and recently even absolute horror. What you say about your health, my own is good, just that I don't sleep well in the mountain air, does not satisfy me. I don't find the doctor diagnostic especially favorable. It's really neither favorable nor unfavorable. Your attitude alone can decide how it should be interpreted. Of course, doctors are stupid, or rather, no more stupid than other people, but their pretensions are ridiculous. Still, you have to count on their becoming more and more stupid from the moment you start dealing with them. And what the doctor is now demanding is neither very stupid nor impossible. Nonetheless, it is and shall remain impossible for you to become really sick. How has your life changed since you spoke with the doctor? That is the main question. But now please permit me a few questions on the side. Why and since when do you have no money? Are you in touch with your relatives? Why did you, as you write, once see many people in Vienna and now no one? You don't want to send me your feuilleton, so you obviously don't trust me to place them properly in the picture I am forming of you. Alright then. I'll be mad at you on this score, which incidentally is no great misfortune, as things balance out quite well if there's a little anger for you lurking in one corner of my heart. Franz Kafka. Ooh, that was the end of the second letter, and he's gonna start to dislike her. Okay, Kafka. That was actually a pretty good letter. It was page 16 in the book. With that being said, the third letter is 2 pages long. Wow. I was just like checking it. Alright. Let's get to it. Milena, May 29th, 1920. Dear from Milena, today is so short between you and a few other things which are no significance. It is over and done with. There's hardly any time left to write to the real Milena, since the event, more real one, was here the whole day, in the room, on the balcony, in the clouds. Where does the liveliness, the good mood, the lack of worry come from in your last letter? Has something changed? Or am I mistaken? And are the prospects helping? Or are you so much in control of yourself and other things as well? What is it? Your letter begins like a judge announcing a sentence. I mean that in earnest. And you're right with your accusation, or not entirely correct, just as you were basically right about well meant. This is obvious. Had I been as completely and instantly worried as I wrote, I would not have been able to bear lying on the deck chair and would have appeared in your room the next day despite all obstacles. The lies are what is stopping him. The lies. He needs to stop lying. Because what is going on? The only proof of sincerity, everything else is mere talk. This include or an appeal to the underlying feeling, which however remains silence, just twiddling its thumbs. How is it that you're not fed up with the ridiculous? How is it that you're not fed up with the ridiculous people you describe? With love and therefore with magic. The inquisitive one, for instance, and many others. After all, you must pronounce sentence. In its end, it's always the woman who judges. The legend of Paris obscure this a little, but even Paris, or even Paris, is only judging which goddess has the strongest final judgment. It doesn't matter that what they do is ridiculous. It might just be a temporary absurdity, which then becomes completely serious and good. Which is it this hope which keeps you bound to these people, who can claim to know the judge's secret thoughts, but I have the impression that you condone this absurdity as such, that you understand, love, and ennoble them by your love. But they are nothing more than dogs zigzag run, while its master goes right on walking, straight ahead, not exactly through the middle, but whenever the path happens to lead. Even so, there must be some reason for your love. I firmly believe this. Only I still can't help asking you and finding it strange. And it reminds me of a pronouncement made by one of the employees of my office, which I would relate just to stress an aspect of the problem. Some years ago, I often went rowing on the Moldo in a small boat. I would row upstream and then float down with the current underneath the bridges, completely stretched out. Because of my emaciation, this probably looked quite comical from the bridge. This comic aspect was not lost on the clerk mentioned above, when he once saw me from the bridge on my back on. In this way, he proceeded to summarize his impression as follows. It looked like the Last Judgment was at hand. The coffin had just been opened, but the dead were still lying there, motionlessly. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there and break that last part. I'm gonna read it again. He proceeded to summarize his impression as followed. It looked like the Last Judgment was at hand. The coffins had just opened, but the dead were still lying there, motionlessly, meaning right when he went rowing at Moldo. No, he was going upstream, right? When he was coming down with the momentum, he was just laying there on the boat like a corpse. So imagine, right, a young Franz Kafka just coming down like a dead body. That's actually kind of funny that I'm thinking about it. Well, anyways, let's get back to reading. I took a small outing, not the long one I mentioned and which never materialized, and for nearly 3 days I was virtually unable to do a thing, not even write, due to and not unpleasant weariness. I just read the letter, your essays, again and again, convinced that such a prose does not exist merely for its own sake, but serve as a signpost on the road to a human being. A road one keeps following, happier and happier until arriving at the realization, some broad moment, that one is not progressing, simply running a ride inside one's own labyrinth, only more nervously, more confused than before. But in any case, this was not written by any ordinary writer. After reading it, I have almost as much faith in your writing as I do in yourself. The only linguistic music I know in Czech, given my limited knowledge, is that Bonzena Nemkova. This music is different but related to Nemkovas in its resolution, passion, charm, and above all, in a certain clairvoyant intelligence. And this is the result of just the last few years. Did you write earlier as well? Of course, you can say that I'm ridiculous. Of course, you can say that I'm ridiculously biased, and of course you're right, but I am not biased. But what I've first discovered in the pieces, which incidentally are uneven, revealing the newspaper, detrimental influence in places, but what I rediscovered in them, you can immediately recognize the inferiority of my judgment. However, by the fact that I was misled by two passages into thinking the mutilated fashion article was also yours, I would gladly hold on to the clippings, at least long enough to show them to my sister, but since you need them right away, I am enclosing them. I also noticed some arithmetics is in the margin. Apparently, I judge your husband differently. In the cafe circle, he seems to me the calmest, most reliable, understanding person, almost exaggeratedly paternal, although also inscrutable, but not enough to cancel out the above attributes. I always respected him. I never had the occasion or the ability to get to know him better. But friends, especially Max Broad, had a high opinion of him, and this was always on my mind whenever I thought of him. So he's being influenced by what other people are saying. Anyways, at one point, I especially like his peculiar habit of receiving evening telephone calls in every cafe. Probably somebody was sitting next to the phone instead of sleeping, just dozing, using the back of the chair as a pillow, jumping up every now and then to call. A state I understand so well that may be the only reason I'm writing about it. Incidentally, I think both Statsa and he are right. I can justify anything I cannot attain myself. Just that when no one is looking, I secretly think Statsa is more right. Franz Kafka. This is the end of letter 3, and with that would be the end of the video. But that's a rather odd way to end it. So he's being influenced by the people around him to think that her husband, from Milena husband, Well, I'm not going to say he's not a good person. He hasn't been proven that he's not a good person. But it shows that what other people say about another person can influence how you think about them. With that being said, that's it for today. And have a good day.